Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another Top Cut deck profile. This time we are going to look at Zach Lowe's top 16 Broly HoM Mastery deck. So this is a deck that I did not expect to see in Top Cut whatsoever. It has a super powerful win condition, but in my opinion, it is a little weaker now that we have so many cards like Mutaito and Champa the Trickster and things like that, and more counterplays than answer Path of Greatness. But I think that speaks more to like the ability of Zach to top this event with a deck that, in my opinion, is harder to play. I've gotten notes from him. We weren't able to set up an interview just because of like time constraints and stuff like that, but I do have some notes from him. I'll go over the deck list and we'll go through it. Before we get into this video, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I post here. If you're looking for a Dragon Ball Super community to get in touch with, talk about your set 7 decks, check out the Discord in the description below. Amazing group of people, really helpful people. And finally, guys, if you're looking for some competitive content now that we are approaching nationals, check out the Patreon in the description below. Really helps channel out, lots of competitive articles. It's a win-win for everyone. With that being said, we will get into this profile. So Yellow Broly HoM Mastery, like I mentioned. Now this is a Roshi Shen kind of world tournament engine for this deck. It doesn't look like it has too many aggro options, unlike the list that I played at Gen Con. So we'll go through his notes first, and then we will talk about the list itself. So my matchups were Pan, Toa, AOD, Janemba, Oob, and Skillless. So he did get a very wide spread of the format facing this deck. Now Pan, I can see being kind of tough for this deck just because they do have Denial of Hope to deal with your Path to Greatness. They have After Image to knock down the strength of your Victory Strike and HoM Mastery. I can see that being a bit tough. They can't aggro you too hard, but you also don't really have answers to Chain Zeno, which I found to be a problem at Gen Con when I faced like Harudegar and Chain Zeno. Maybe Zach had a different way to deal with it. I'm not 100% sure. Toa, again, kind of tough, kind of not. That's very RNG dependent in my opinion, because like if you can hit Victory Strike with no problem and they can't really effectively answer your Path of Greatness by like removing the barrier and like doing all these things that have to jump through hoops for, you're going to be okay. You're just going to Victory Strike them, and that's pretty much going to be the end of it. HoM Mastery is not the most efficient win con in that matchup because they do have basically the God Strike Beerus skill, but going into Victory Strike, no problem there, is really helpful. And this deck has a lot more draw power than my build of the deck had. So I can actually see this build going a little bit more consistently into Victory Strike, so that makes a lot of sense. AOD, Nimbus definitely helps with that. The 4 main deck Nimbus definitely helps with that. He has main deck blockers, even though like the Vegeta can KO those, so maybe that wasn't the most helpful thing. But the Godly Destruction Whis can also help if they're playing the Dende leader, because that can prevent the Dende from going off with its ultimate of untapping 2 and drawing 2. So I can definitely see that being a decent position for him. And then obviously you have the 1 Cold Bloodlust and the Mutaito for the big triple strike boo. That is definitely helpful as well. The Janemba matchup I can see being tough. Again, it kind of depends on if you just draw the Victory Strike or not. If you can keep them at that like 7-6 life range and draw into Victory Strike, you should be okay. Especially because most Janemba players I feel like are playing the 4 life super combo, not the Sparking 5 super combo, which can definitely hurt if they get stalled at like 6 life against a Victory Strike player. I can definitely see that being the case. The Frost Poison might be an interesting dynamic in this one. It doesn't really hit the HoM Mastery or the Victory Strike, but it can hit the Son Goku Path to Greatness. But actually I think you could rest the Victory Strike with it. You just wouldn't be able to negate its skills, but HoM Mastery is going to tap them out anyway, so that's probably going to be like a non-factor, to be honest. So then Skillless, again, same idea basically. This is a list that really seems to lean hard into Victory Strike, so if you're able to stall them out there at that like 7-6 life mark, and if they don't have the Sparking super combo, if they have the 4 life super combo, the Victory Strike's gonna probably connect for that lethal damage. And again, this deck does have the draw power to get to that Victory Strike a bit more consistently than I think my build was. I basically traded in a little bit of draw power for more aggro options. So let me get into more of what Zach said. So Zach says, I played this deck because I felt it was an underdog no one would expect. I mostly went super aggro or super defensive game 1 depending on matchup. Now I feel like it's a little hard in this deck to go aggro just because he is playing 4 Intrepid Dynasty Son Gohan, and does not look like he's playing any dependable Son Goku. So that can be a little tough to go aggro in my opinion, because you don't have those 15k beaters. A lot of times if you're going aggressive or if your opponent awakens early, you're gonna have to combo into those 10Ks to make it work. But nonetheless, that's what he said. And then we go super defensive. I can see super defensive a lot more because of the Nimbus, because of the Bloodlust. The Master Roshi, Master Shen almost acts like blockers, because essentially your opponent has to deal with those, otherwise you're just going to keep drawing free cards. So they're going to be swinging at the Roshi, at the Shen, and they're not going to be able to swing damage at your life, otherwise again you're going to draw free cards. So that makes a lot of sense there. Next up, he says, and every game too, I side in power overseeing time. Every game too, very interesting. And hard mull for victory strike, combo it defensively, give them a sense of comfort. That's a really interesting outplay, honestly. Defending with the victory strike, comboing it away, and then using power overseeing time to grab it back. Very, very interesting. A bit convoluted, I might add, just because you do need the Sparking 7 for the Path to Greatness, but an interesting strategy nonetheless. Then on my kill turn, I hide a mastery, push for games, make them waste cards, and then grab the victory strike back with Trunks, blow them out with that. Then the Royal Mat cards would let me draw upwards of 12 or more cards a turn. That's a very interesting kind of approach there. And then the deck was super fun. No one saw it coming. He got a lot of 2-0s. If no one's prepared for this deck, I can definitely see that happening. You know, if no one's playing the Mutaidos, if no one's playing the Chomp of the Tricksters, if no one's playing the Mafubas, definitely makes a lot of sense to me that this would catch a lot of people off guard. So Zach also says Nimbus is also a very underrated card. Won so many games from it. Just being able to stall those kill turns and you know, just giving your opponent one attack too short. And if you can establish a Nimbus with like a Grandpa Gohan blocker up, that's going to basically eat 2 attacks and only have 1 attack potentially that can go through for damage. And if you're not at 2 life, that's probably not going to be lethal. So that makes a lot of sense. And Zach also says U6 veggies knocked me out of top cut. That's the deck's worst matchup, hands down. And I can kind of see that just because you're not very fluid on energy. They are super aggressive, which like you have Nimbus to deal with, but you don't have like a lot of raw combo power to deal with. So now that we have Zach's notes all said and done, we'll go through the deck list ourselves. We got the 1 victory strike, obviously, the announcer play-by-play to pair with the Roshi Shen combo. Now this is something we haven't seen in a while from Height of Mastery decks. I mean, the last big Height of Mastery Broly appearance was my teammate Jamal, who won Otakon with it, and he was playing the hyper aggro build, like no Roshi Shen combo and a lot of Overrealm and the dependable Dynasty Son Goku. This trades in a lot of that aggro for more of the draw power, which definitely helps the victory strike side of things. And in a slower format, victory strike is definitely very, very good. So I can definitely see that. Then we have the 4 successor, the 2 Godly Destruction Whis, a bit of a tech option, but I think this is actually a really good tech option in an open format like we find ourselves in right now, just because you never know what you're going to face, like Scuffle Time or AOD Dende with the blue Dende leader who's untapping energy with his ultimate. I think that's very good. Mutaido at 3, definitely agree. Fearless Assault Krillin, that's a little bit of your aggro option here because he has a 15k crit, helps you awaken if you're getting stalled out, like in a mirror match or like by Janemba, something that just doesn't want to awaken you, maybe like skillless in certain matchups. I can definitely see that. The 3 Gohan, you only really need to see 1, so you basically have 7 copies in the deck. 4 Nimbus and no Time Magic main deck is very interesting to me. I feel like Sparking Negates have just embedded themselves in the game so much that like players really just want to have that security net to take a life when they need to negate instead of just relying on solely keeping energy up. But in this build where you can swap into Path to Greatness on turn 3, keep energy up, definitely makes sense. The 1 Bloodlust, you got to play it, even though it's kind of hard to see sometimes. It can definitely still be a blowout. Very happy this card's still at 1, by the way. I love this card a lot. The 4 Jocko, the you know, you could play a Sparking Super combo, but he said he played Trunks Overseeing Time from the sideboard a lot, so it makes sense. Then we have the 4 Intrepid Dynasty Gohan. Very interesting. I'm very, very interested. I would have loved to ask him why he didn't play any dependable Son Gokus. Maybe Zach will hit us up in the comments of this video. Very interested to see why he didn't play that. And also very interested to see how, like, what his main aggro plays were. I mean, obviously you have the Leader Swing, you have the Fearless Assault Krillin, but outside of that, I can't see too much aggro. Then you have the 4 Path. The 3 Dynasty Son Goten, so I guess he was afraid of like people attacking his active modes because the Gohan is a little smaller than it has barrier, so good tech option there. The 4 Height of Mastery, definitely a very consistent build. Like my build played only 3 Height of Mastery, 3 Path to Greatness, so definitely a very consistent Height of Mastery Victory Strike list. Sideboard, we've got the Supreme Kai Time Disruptor, so this guy, when you counterplay her, your opponent and you actually cannot attack with 2 drops or less for the next 2 turns. And you get to draw a card, so kind of complements Nimbus in that way. An Unexpected Turn is basically going to board wipe. I'll read this card real quick because it might be a little new to some people. Counterplay, if your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy cost of 2 or more, the battle card your opponent is playing is placed in the owner's drop area. So this is really cool because it can hit any battle card your opponent's playing as long as they have a wide board, which this format does feel like a lot of wide boards are showing up. Then choose all battle cards with energy cost 2 or less, ignoring barrier, send them to the owner's warp. So it's definitely very good against U6. It's not going to hit a lot of their established 4-drops, but you can hit a 4-drop they bring into play, like Chomp the Trickster, or sorry, Chomp of Vados, and then you can get rid of any little 1-drops they have left over. Mercenary Tau, great against hand control. I would definitely consider playing like three of this guy, because at only 2, this card's really hard to use outside of turn 1. Like turn 1 is really where we want to see this. Otherwise, a lot of hand control decks are going to kind of snowball out of control if you don't see this by like turn 3, turn 4. TN, great against Janemba, obviously. Trunks Overseeing Time seems to be one of Zach's MVPs in the deck, just because you can recycle the Victory Strike. It's also really good to like play this guy and recycle TN Returning Fire against Janemba. Great recyclability there. Mass Name Mysterious Warrior. Pretty surprised that no Dimensional Banisher Fu in this deck at all. Like, there's no like straight up removal, it seems like, unless you like, you know, swing into something with Height of Mastery. But Dimensional Banisher is one thing I would like to see in this deck. And then Time Magic at 2 makes a lot of sense for your Shenron matchups, anything with like dual attack, triple attack, things like that. So guys, overall, that's the deck list with Zach's notes and my input. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the deck list in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Crossroad TCG, and I'll see you guys in the next video.